Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Behind the Group podcast. I am DJ Keo.
And I am Basil Barrington. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. Okay, dude, we have another movie we have to review, and I'm not quite sure what to think about this movie. We are talking about the Suicide Squad. I mean, this was packed with like crazy,
There's a lot of stars in
superstars.
here.
Right,
There's a lot
right?
of stars in here. Like people, either stars or people you recognize. There's a
Yeah.
lot of them in.
It's everyone was in here. I mean, it's just like it also means that this cost a lot of money to make, right?
Yeah, I think the budget's around 180 to 200 million, not including advertising stuff. But I think advertising is probably a lot less than it would be normally because most people are online. Instead of you have the advertising on buses and billboards and stuff. You don't really need to do that right now because
Yeah.
majority of people are going to see the advertising online. So I think they skipped a lot of that, but still at least 100 million in advertising. At
Was
least.
this movie even needed? I mean, I can see why they released it on HBO Max, but did we even need a movie like this?
Well, they're basically trying to reshape the DC movies because they got rid of Zack Snyder, so he's not there anymore, and they're trying to undo all of his movies or anything he's connected to or attached to.
But he helped with this
Uh,
movie.
well, he's executive producer because he was involved in the initial thing for all these characters.
Oh my goodness, come on. Oh,
So he got a credit for. So I don't think that he was consulted or anything involved in this at all
okay.
because
Did
it doesn't share anything else what they're
did
doing.
this movie, The Suicide Squad, remind you of any other movie we reviewed?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so.
I have
Did you
a
think it
movie.
reminded somebody? It
Yes.
reminded you of something? Okay.
Yes. This movie reminded me of The Army of the Dead. I mean, take away the zombies, right?
Hmm.
And you sort of have the same plot. You have,
Okay, it's like a mission thing.
right, a
Yeah.
band of, people just trying to, do something. And, in this case, we had a huge starfish. Forget it. Come on. A starfish. A starfish.
That is the original villain that brought the Justice League together in 19 whatever back
A
in the day.
starfish.
The starfish. That was the original thing that caused the Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and the Flash and the Green Lantern to get together. That starfish. So it's iconic. It's
With-
dumb and iconic.
Okay, see, that's what I'm saying, right?
It's like that history thing.
Was this, okay, we spoke about this in the clip we did about how
Mm,
Americans aren't making original films. Was this
yeah.
an original film, or was this just something that it was done
Yeah.
in another
It,
totally way and then just redone?
no, it's an original film.
Hmm.
It's I think that if you've seen a lot of the Marvel movies,
Hmm.
it takes a lot from the Marvel movies because James Gunn, he directed Guardians of the Galaxy stuff and then he
Hmm.
directed this, and it's got the James Gunn vibe with the music and the style and the writing. It's all James Gunn. So
Wow.
if you watch Guardians of the Galaxy and then you watch this movie, you're like, wait a minute, this seems similar. It's got the
Yeah.
vibe
I
and
watched the
the
movie
dick
today.
jokes.
I watched it today.
Yeah, it's got the similar the juvenile dick jokes. That's
Right.
James
Hmm.
Gunn. That's his style.
Exactly, because I was thinking that, you know what? Remember back in the day when we were in high school, or if you skipped high school and you wanted to see a
Mhm.
movie, this would be the type of movie it was. Something goofy,
Yeah,
teenager, sort of rah rah,
yeah.
big starfish, with many
The
baby starfish coming out of its armpits.
yeah the juvenile jokes and stuff. That's all 100% James Gunn, and that's why they brought him over there in the first place. Warner Brothers brought him there to do exactly this. So they got what they asked for.
Was this movie worse than Cosmic Sin or on the same level?
I don't. Okay, I think that this movie is it's serviceable as a movie. Minus
It's
the, I
serviceable.
the jokes didn't land for me, but like, as a level of filmmaking,
Hmm.
it's well done. Like it's
It
it's
is.
filmed well.
Yeah.
The special effects are good.
Awesome.
The acting is decent.
Pretty decent.
So you're not mad at the like whoever the actors are. You're not mad at them for
Right.
what they did. This is what they were given.
Hmm.
So like on that level, it's serviceable. Like I didn't think it was the worst movie of all time. Cosmic
Hmm.
Sin is like one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Period.
So it's not on that level.
Yeah.
As far as like how it fits in or should have been made, no, it shouldn't have been made. I don't think it should have been made at all. And the other thing
Yeah.
too is that it killed off all of the people from the original movie, especially people that are involved in other projects. It killed them all off.
Man, they
So
had some goofy characters. Do you want to just give an extremely brief overview of what this movie was?
okay, so for the people who don't know what Suicide Squad is a comic book from DC Comics that it's basically the government has like a secret group of they have this organization with this lady called Amanda Waller,
Hmm.
and she
Hmm.
goes and gets the people, the worst of the worst, like worst, the most evil human beings on earth. She gets them and she implants chips in them, and then she goes and gets them to do missions on behalf of the U.S. government. So
Hmm.
that's the basis of what the Suicide Squad is. So people who have fought Batman, people who have fought Wonder Woman, people who have fought Superman, like these kind of super villains,
Hmm.
super bad people, evil people. And
Yeah.
that's why they're not supposed to be likable. They're not supposed to be whatever. They're all horrible people, and they get taken to do missions to do horrible things on behalf of the U.S. government. That's Suicide Squad.
And all of them were placed in, they were all in jail too, apparently, huh?
Yeah, so they've all been caught and they're
Hmm.
in jail. And so the running joke is Amanda Waller goes to them and says, "Hey, if you do this mission for us, we're gonna shave 10 years off your sentence." They
Right.
have
Hmm.
life sentences.
Hmm.
You're in jail for almost killing Superman or whatever, so you're not supposed to get out. You can't get out. There's no getting out.
And
So
what's,
10 years off a life sentence is
I was
irrelevant.
about to say, like, what's that? If it's 10 years off of life, is that like mini life?
Yeah, exactly. You're never getting out of jail. That's the running joke about
You're
the
never.
comic book. You're never getting out of jail. You're all evil human beings. You kill kids, you kill women, yada yada yada. You're never leaving this thing. Also, we're gonna shave 10 years off of your infinity. So
Yeah.
that's the Suicide Squad joke.
Who was your best character in this movie?
I liked Bloodsport,
Hmm.
but Bloodsport was basically uh, a knockoff dead. I forgot his name. Deadshot, the Will Smith character, Deadshot. So
Hmm.
it's a replay because they couldn't get Will Smith to come back for the movie. So they're like, let's get exact same type of character, and then we'll get Idris Elba to do it, and we'll just change his name to Bloodsport, and then there you go. He's literally the same storyline from the first movie.
My man said, I was about to say, I mean, I like Peacemaker and I also like Blood Sport. But then when my
Bloodsport,
man
yeah.
said, you're wearing a toilet on your head, a toilet bowl, I was like, okay, there were some like little small
I
sort of
I
funny
like
parts.
Bloodsport because I like
Uh,
Idris.
yeah, Idris, I
His
like him.
My only issue with the character was what is with the stupid sci-fi weapons. It was over the top. Like he pulled this thing off his shoulder and he pulled this thing off his back and turned into a bigger gun. Just carry a bigger gun. Like
I mean, did you
this is
see that? It was
so
like,
ridiculous.
I was just
Yeah,
like,
like
okay,
this stupid transformer gun. I hated that. I almost threw my remote into the TV when I saw that. I hate that so much. And I
you
blame Iron Man for it because he's the one that started that crap.
you would think that all of the accessories that this guy created or had to create a super weapon, it didn't even put a dent in the starfish. That's the other big thing. The starfish was the big villain of this whole
Yeah,
movie. A starfish.
rats killed starfish. That was dope. That was really dope.
Okay, listen. Okay.
That was dumb.
Listen, I mean, you had the rat woman, whatever her name was. Yo,
He's a rat catcher too.
oh my goodness, dude! And then you had, I'm trying to find her name here. It's
The,
like,
the other running joke about Suicide Squad is they have the most ridiculous characters because they can't use any high end people to be in the squad. It's
yeah,
very rarely somebody big would be in the squad, so it's always here's Triangle Man, and here's Protractor Man, and here's Ruler Man. Like that's the kind of people they use for Suicide Squad because
okay,
the bigger characters they wouldn't be caught dead in that kind of book
yeah,
because
they want
they would be in a
mm,
Batman book or they'd be in a
exactly.
Superman book, so they
Okay,
wouldn't be in there. So
so I
that's
think
the other running joke.
I think we both like Bloodsport, and also like I said, I did like Peacemaker. Who was your dumbest character in this movie?
Weasel. That was like what the heck? Why? That's that is James Gunn with a dick joke. That's what that was. That was him like let me be silly here. So he picked characters like there's better characters they could use. They just like he used the most like the guy with the detachable arms. That's just he's being funny.
Now,
Like
okay,
he exists. That's a real character, but like why would you pick him?
wait a
There's so
minute.
many
That
cooler people.
okay, wait a minute. That's an
Everybody in the
actual.
movie is a real character in the comic
That's
books.
a
Everybody's real.
character. You know, someone who can just like release their arms and then just go
Everybody in
do
the movie is a
things.
real character. Yeah, everybody in the movie is a real character.
Okay, dude. You know what? We now know why DC is down here and Marvel is up here because wow, I thought Polka Dot Man was pretty interesting.
That's like a character from like 1930 something, 1940 something. Like, a
Okay,
lot of these
so
stuff are there. A lot of these characters are
you
super
said the
old
30s,
or
dude? Really?
obscure. Yeah, a lot of these characters are super old or really
Listen,
obscure.
okay.
Where they brought him in for a book to make fun of them, and you never heard of them again. That's
This
what a lot of
movie
these
was
characters are.
dumb as anything. I mean, this is a dumb movie. Um, okay, you had the Polka Dot Man. You had, oh, I'm just gonna put it out there. Shark Man, was that his name, or did he have
And it's
a
King Shark.
King Shark?
He's
Okay,
he's the actual villain. He's not an idiot in the comic books. He's
that
the
sounds
actual.
like a sandwich. I remember when I used to go over to Redondo Beach in California. There was this like little fish shop right on a beach called Moby Dixon. They sold shark sandwiches,
Yeah.
you know. So King Shark sounds like a really good shark sandwich. But
King
dude,
Shark is doesn't. He's not stupid. He's not a dumb person.
mm,
He's more of a like Aquaman Flash type villain, but he's not dumb. They made him into a moron. He's
yeah,
vicious though. He does kill people like that, but
but he's not in water either.
that's why he's more of like an Aquaman type villain or something like that. But
Okay,
it did make sense why he's on the team. I think they put him on the team to make dumb jokes like hands and stuff like that. That's what he was for.
okay, and
Juvenile James Gunn jokes.
the starfish was able to walk too. That's pretty weird and interesting, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the original villain from the Justice League in 1940 something, whenever the book came out. That's the
who
first
who
villain.
who thinks of this stuff to have a starfish as a villain? Why not having? Well, I was about to say Ant, but Ant Man is actually a superhero, right?
Yeah. I mean, like it was not a good. I get why they did it. It's for the nostalgia and the
Mm,
hey, look, everybody, we did this thing that you shouldn't be in a movie. It and this is my problem with the movie because I'm looking at James Gunn and I'm like, he did stuff just to rile people up or just to make juvenile jokes. That's all it was for.
absolutely
He gets a
insane.
kick out of that. That's his brand of humor. If you have you seen a lot of James Gunn's movies?
No, I was about to ask you: is Sean Gunn his brother or a relative? Because
Yeah,
he was the
yeah.
person who played the Weasel.
Yeah,
Wow.
he
Okay.
did Rocket Raccoon and the Guardians. He's done a
Okay.
bunch of stuff. He whenever there's like some kind of special effects green screen thing, James Gunn
Mm.
usually has them do it for him. So he gets his brother in the movies.
What do you think about Pete Davidson? He had a really quick role, huh? But he still got a little bag, though, huh?
Yeah, like all unnecessary. People were there to put through the meat grinders so they can get killed in funny ways. That's there for.
Um, was this movie supposed to be in the theaters?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. They
so
wanted this movie in theaters badly.
okay, so this is what I'm talking about. And like you said, this is really a teenage, a teenage male sort of movie, It's all about that sort of teenage bravado and, all that sort
Well,
of stuff, right?
I think that for Warner Brothers, they don't know what their market is. They have
No,
no
they
idea
don't.
who they're selling movies to. So I think they thought, hey, if we made a super gory R-rated movie with a lot of cursing in it, people that like comic books would go watch it. But the DC movies are different from Marvel movies. Like
I
it's not
see.
even close. It
I
is
see.
very different.
Yeah.
And so the DC fan base were like, nah, we're good.
Yeah,
Nothing. We don't want this.
this was a weird movie. I like I said, I watched this today around
Mm-hmm.
3 o'clock, and the movie was disappointing. But what was a really huge disappointment was I had to watch this movie during the day for 2.5 or 2 hours,
It was
12
long too.
minutes. Yeah, exactly.
It was
Yeah,
long. It
right.
was longer.
But I kept thinking like, wow, I could be doing something better. I could be, I could just do something else with my time here, and
Mm-hmm.
not to take anything away from the movie, the graphics were great.
Yeah,
The
it was a
color,
well made movie.
yeah, the color grading was dope. I mean, everything was looking, really cool. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but just the whole plot line, just the goofiness of it. Um, Wow, like I said, when I was watching it again, it reminded me of Army of the Dead. It's just like take away the
Mm-hmm.
zombie, right? The zombies. You
Mm-hmm.
have the antagonist, which was the starfish,
Starro.
right? Starro. Oh, it had a name too. Okay, cool. And
Yeah.
what about the guy with the sort of brain man or whatever his name was? With
Thinker.
the thinker. Oh my goodness, come on. Who comes up with these
He was
names?
useless. You're talking about a comic book company that's been around for almost 100 years. They had a lot of free reign back in the 60s and the 50s, or whatever. They're smoking drugs. They're doing whatever they want. And
I can
same with
see
Marvel. Marvel has characters exactly like this. So
I
it's
can
not like it's better. It's the same.
I can see like I can see like back in the 30s like a character being named the Thinker or Blackguard or
Yeah.
Peacemaker or something like that. The Weasel
The,
even. Just come
the
on.
Hulk has a character exactly like the Thinker.
Wow,
He's
this
got a giant
is
head. It's an oversized giant head.
listen.
And
This is
it's
like
exactly similar.
this is. I do not know. I mean, I'm kind of speechless to be honest with you, man,
I love
because
the fact that you don't really watch or know too much about comic book movies. So watching
mhm,
it as a person who's not involved in this, your insight is exactly what's going on and what a lot of people feel about this stuff. Because
right.
like, for me, I know what these things are, I know what the people are. So when I watch it, I was like, oh, okay, I know what I'm getting. You
Mhm.
had no idea what you were walking into.
Yeah.
It was like it's like a ambush almost. Because I knew exactly what was going to happen, but I was like, I got to see what your thoughts were about this thing.
Okay,
And
so let
yeah,
me
you
let me
did not
ask you
like it.
this then. Okay, because this was a question I had for you. So you're a Marvel DC person. You understand, you
Mm,
know these characters, right? The Suicide Squad with all these goofy characters, a huge starfish with an eye in the middle,
mm.
who had baby starfish coming out of his armpits. I guess those were armpits. Um, was this
Half
even
of the
like
time.
were these were not superheroes, these were super villains,
Yeah,
right?
they're all bad. Everybody there is bad. Harley
Okay,
Quinn killed people, hostages, you name it. Everybody's bad.
I mean, she was the only, for me, like she was the only one who sort of had the skill set, to just like Swiss cheese people up. I did not think that when you say supervillain, I'm thinking these people are bad. They have superpowers, everything. I didn't see that. But as a person who's into comic books, Marvel and DC, what did you think about this movie? And was it something that was even needed? And even those who understand the whole comic book sort of space, do you think that those individuals like yourself would be into a movie like the Suicide Squad, which was like it was
The
it wasn't
concept.
bad, but it was dumb.
Yeah, no, it was a dumb movie. It was a
Yeah.
dumb, flashy popcorn movie. Um, See, the thing is though, like the Suicide Squad is supposed to go in with bad guys and do a really bad mission with evil people, and there's casualties everywhere. So, like in the essence, they kind of got the feel of what the Suicide Squad is
Hmm.
because they're expendable. They don't care what happens to them, so they
Right.
they go get them to do these kind of things.
Hmm.
Um, the movie's not necessary on the front overall, but I don't think that the way that they've used them for either two movies. Well, I can't say that because the first Suicide Squad movie, we didn't actually see what David Ayer actually filmed. It was like
Right.
they changed like almost half of the movie or 2/3 of the movie was reshot.
Hmm.
So we have no idea what his original vision was supposed to be. It
Hmm.
was supposed to be more of a connection to the Justice League movie, but the overall squad that's there, whatever, they nerfed all of the other people and then built up Harley Quinn because she's very popular. She's super popular. Like young girls like her, guys looking at her like she's super
Right. She's
popular.
also goofy too. I can like. I'm not into characters like that. Like just goofy girls.
She's like the Joker's sidekick. She's
Yeah.
not supposed to be see. She's supposed to be in short bursts. You're
Mhm.
supposed to see her for like 2 minutes and then you go on with the rest of the show.
Right.
You're not supposed to have a whole movie around this character. She's a
We.
side character.
But
And
we
you can
did.
tell, like, long term, it's starting to go. Oh, okay, I get the joke. Like,
Like
long term,
yeah.
she's from the Batman the anime series that came out like 1990 something,
Hmm.
and she was there for comic relief for the Joker. So
Comic
you
relief.
see her
Wow.
for like literally you see for like 2 seconds. She
Wow.
do a funny thing with the pie, and then that's the last time you saw her. Up until the original Suicide Squad movie. Then it turned into this national phenomenon. Like when the movie came out, that was the number one costume for women for the around the world for Halloween. That was the number one costume.
You mean that sort
Everybody
of
dressed up.
gown and everything she had on?
No, not the gown, the
Okay.
original costume that she wore from the first movie. It
Okay.
was like super revealing, and she
Right.
like a cut up shirt or whatever.
Yeah.
That was the highest costume, and I think it still is for women for Halloween for like 3 years running. Was that particular costume because it's like super sexy, whatever. But like
Mhm.
she's a side character, but because she's so popular, because of that last movie, it turned into her main movie. She got her own movie, and then she's like the main character in this movie, and she has to do all the awesome things or whatever. But like, it's not for the fans and stuff like that. It's like, oh, it's great, but like, it's kind of wearing thin now. She doesn't
Yeah.
have the same appeal as she had before. I
Mhm.
think they're realizing like, we got to tone this down a little bit. Too much Harley Quinn. So I mean, we'll see what happens, but
You
yeah,
know,
it's not necessary.
speaking of
The
outfits, go ahead.
Oh, I'm saying like the other bad guys in the movie, they're bad guys. These people who fight the Flash, who fight Batman,
Mhm.
fight Superman. Their skill set was reduced greatly to do
Yeah.
this movie.
Mhm. What
These
about
if you
the Peacemaker? He actually they had him like in this, just this baby polo shirt, and he was showing like a midriff. I was like, and
this
if
is
he's
all
the
this is all for jokes.
yeah, that's
These
what
are
I'm
bad. These are
saying.
all bad guys. These are people that in any other movie, if Bloodsport came on a thing, you're like, oh my god, Bloodsport's here. Oh, this is gonna get bad. Well,
Mhm.
everybody should be scared. This is the person that puts fear in your heart. And then kind of they reduced all that stuff for the movie. So
Yeah.
they're more comic relief than to be horrifying. They're the for like if they were a Batman villain, you're like, oh crap, Bloodsport's here. Batman's gonna have his hands full. Like that's what it's supposed to be.
Wow. See, I did not see any super duper, you know, powers that these characters had. I didn't see anything, other than, you know, Bloodsport creating a super gun with all these accessories.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had all of this technology, why not just pull it out, press a button, and then you have this gun that's created? But
Yeah.
and like you said, it was just a lot of like locker room, bathroom jokes, and it was just kind of
Yeah.
corny. Um, yeah, just being a novice at this whole Marvel and DC comic thing,
Mm-hmm.
but also just a person who loves movies and understands them and like what they should
Mm-hmm.
or how I may feel about a movie.
Mm-hmm.
This movie was it's so sad that companies would make a movie like this, put it out, give you the awesome trailers, lace the, stitch up the trailer where it looks awesome. You go
Mm-hmm.
to the theater, you sit down for 2 hours, 12 minutes, and then you get garbage like this. It's a complete disappointment. It's just like, big, Hollywood studios just putting trash together and saying, hey, they'll look at anything. We're just trying to make a little bit of money. Let's just try to make our money back and a little profit. This was a terrible movie. This was like a really bad movie.
The thing that's ironic
Everything,
about this
what?
is that critics love this movie. They said it was great.
Oh,
Five
dude, listen.
stars.
Listen,
Critics said
man.
it was great.
IMDb, this movie has a 7.5 rating out of 100,000 people rating this movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that critics and I guess average fans thought it was a great movie, and especially the critics who hate, demeaning type of jokes towards women or that,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. They that hate that stuff love this movie, and I don't have a reason for why. I don't know why, because they should have got lambasted the same way they do every other movie like this that fits in this genre of comic book stuff.
I can
But it
see
didn't.
I can see why they may have rated this like 7.5 honestly because I mean, it was done well. We do know that. It was done well. They had an all-star cast.
They
John
don't care
Cena.
about those things.
Right, but John Cena, I really like him, man. He is coming along with his like whole Hollywood thing. This guy is actually
Yeah,
doing
he
it.
was just in Fast and the Furious. I
Yeah,
just saw
he's like
that.
serious, and Viola Davis and everyone else, Joel Kinnaman, from like Altered
There's
Carbon
good
and
actors
everything
in
else.
this movie.
It's good actors in this
There's
movie,
really good
right?
actors in
So
this movie.
yeah,
They didn't have a lot to work with.
they didn't have
So
yeah.
the thing is, though,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the movie is terrible. Like the word, like
Uh
I have a
oh,
different feeling
really?
from you. I don't think it's the worst movie of all time. I think
Okay.
it was just fine. For if you like comic books and you watch this stuff, it was fine. It was serviceable. It had decent action, set pieces were big, explosions, yada yada yada. It
Yeah.
was fine.
Mm-hmm.
It was serviceable.
I
It
think that
wasn't terrible. It was just okay.
yeah, it I didn't like the Tomorrow World that much, but
Mm.
I didn't like this. I like this less than the Tomorrow World.
What's the thing? I like Tomorrow World. I thought it
Hmm.
was fine. I thought it was
Yeah,
great. But like this movie in particular, it was okay. It was like if you hadn't seen it, you wouldn't lose sleep over like, oh my god, I missed out on the Suicide Squad.
yeah.
You'd have been like, I went on with my life, and it was fine.
The thing that kept me interested in the movie was again just like how it was put together, like just the graphics, the CGI, um, the color grading of the movie. They sort of hit that out the park. That looked really great. Um,
Yeah, well,
but
these kind of comic book movies, they have
mm,
their formula, and they know how to do that.
yeah,
Whether or not it hits or not, that's it's up to the intentions of the movie. But the formula is there. They know how to make one of these things now. So
okay.
do you think, because this movie it it had trouble at the box office. It came under expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was supposed to make like 30 something million or close to 40, and it made 26. So do you think we've hit the skids here for comic book movies and it's all downhill for here? Because Black Widow had the same problem. It didn't do well. It didn't have legs. People saw it in the theater a little bit, and then it just went right through the floor. And I think it was the LeBron James movie, that the Toon Squad movie, that took over, was number one, and then that went through the floor.
Come on.
And so now this one, I think it was number one, but like it came way below expectations
Yeah.
because you could just watch it for free on HBO. So I think a lot of people just did that rather than go
Yeah.
to the theater. So do you think this is it? It's a wrap for comic book type movies, and there's going to be a brand new genre to take over.
Okay, well, a couple things. You actually got me into this whole comic book movie thing. You were like, "Hey, let's watch this, let's watch that." I'm like, "Okay, cool." Some of it was really good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it could have been shorter. This movie, okay, so when you say comic books, we're talking about superheroes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or no, comic book is it was written in comic book first.
Oh,
Because
okay, cool.
there's a lot of movies that
Yeah,
they're not superhero related, but they're from a comic book.
yeah.
So yeah.
I think that there's going to be a portion, you know, a genre of these comic book movies that are just they should be done. Now you take a series like what's the series on Netflix? I can't even think about it with the Luke Cage. Okay, if you take a series like that, that was,
Mm,
man, I was all in on that all day. I was just watching that all the time, you know. That was a
mm-hmm.
great flick, right? That was a great, comic book
The
sort of
series.
series. Yeah, huh?
Yeah.
I think some of these movies, I'm kind of done with these movies, these comic book movies, these superhero movies. There's nothing different about them. You're going to get a corny superhero movie where they're saving the world and it's going to be
Mm,
a femme fatale or a bunch of guys going through like 2-3 hours of like just beating their chests, or you're going to have sort of these villains who are just doing completely goofy things, right? We spoke
mm,
about this previously where there's a lack of creativity in Hollywood. And I
mm,
just think right now that they're just throwing things on a wall. The really interesting thing that I really like about Loki, the series, was again, you're introducing me to this stuff, right? And I
mm,
think Loki, for me, I was like, this is an interesting storyline, right?
mm.
And I like these characters. Some of it can be goofy, but for the most part, it was a serious storyline with a little bit of like, humor here and there. But for the most part, to answer your question, just to zip it up, I think they're pretty much done. Um,
See,
what do you
like a
think?
book like Batman, like a
Mm.
movie like Batman. They haven't touched half of the good stories. They have Hush, you have A Court of Owls, The Death of the Family. There's a bunch of books they haven't even reached yet. There's so much like qualities. Like Hush is an excellent story because, like,
Mm.
without getting too deep in it, uh, somebody's replacing Batman,
Yeah.
and it's his childhood friend. It was a spoiler alert, but like he has like he has a existential crisis that he's dealing with right now, and like that's a great story. Quarter Owls is a great story because
Mm.
he's getting a new thing, a new situation that he hasn't been hit with,
Yeah.
and there's a bunch of books. Same with Superman, Wonder Woman, Iron Man.
Oh,
Like
Wonder
you
Woman.
go
Forget about her.
Marvel
Yeah. Forget about
between
Wonder Woman.
between Marvel and DC. There's a bunch of really good stories
Yeah.
they haven't even touched yet, and I think that it's probably run its course. But at Endgame, I think that was kind of it for comic book movies, and it's all downhill from here. Because like you think about movies, like westerns was the biggest thing for movies back in the
Yeah.
day,
You
and
know.
then if you grew up in the '80s, like movies like The Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink, and
Yeah. Coming
that
of
was the
age
biggest
movies.
thing.
Yeah.
The
Mm-hmm.
coming of age type
Mm-hmm.
movies, weird science. There's a bunch of movies that came out in the '80s that That was the thing. And in the '90s had a totally different type of genre for movies, whatever.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think that I don't think that they're gonna stop making them. The budgets, the 200 million, that's gone. I don't think
Yeah.
that's ever coming back. They can't afford it with the streaming services. But like, I definitely feel like comic book movies are gonna they're gonna scale back, and you may get a Batman movie here and there, or you may get you're not gonna do Iron Man, but like a Spider Man or something like that.
Yeah.
That'll come back here and there. That shared universe stuff, I think those days are over. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's just going to scale down and be a little bit smaller budget, and just try and like because there's still a want for it, but the masses, I don't think that that's there anymore.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Give me your rating of the Suicide Squad.
I would say like a 6.5 out of 10.
Really?
It was fine.
Okay.
It wasn't in my eyes as a comic book fan. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't terrible. It was just fine. There's things I would have changed,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't like what they did to some of the older characters. Like, yeah, Captain
Six and a
Boomerang
half.
is an awesome character. I don't know why would you kill him off in the first 10 minutes of the movie. Dumb.
Right.
He's an awesome character. He's one of the Flash's main villains. How could you get rid of him? How
Really?
did Warner Brothers say, "Hey, you can get rid of this guy"? He's the main villain.
Wow. So six
Like,
and a
you're gonna
half,
need
really?
him.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna need him in the future. Like, why would you get rid of him? I don't understand that.
So
If
why
he,
six and a half? How'd you put six and a half together?
because it's a fun, dumb comic book movie. I get For me, the biggest issue is the writing. I didn't think the jokes landed at
Mm-hmm.
all. That I laughed very little in this movie. A lot of stuff was like, why? This is badass characters. You're making them comic relief. Why? That's not necessary. I don't like that stuff. Like, I
Yeah.
don't like when you turn somebody who's cool or somebody
Mm-hmm.
he's supposed to be badass, and you turn him into a dumb joke. I hate
Right.
when people do that. So like, I understand where they're going with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the dumb jokes. Like, there's too much jokes. That reminds me of Marvel too much. So what Marvel turned into, because
Yeah.
Marvel wasn't jokey in the beginning. It
Yeah.
had
No, it
some
wasn't.
jokes, but it was serious movies.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to do serious things. So the jokes didn't land. The action was good. It's a dumb popcorn movie, so I was fine with that. Uh, it was okay. I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was just okay.
Okay. I am going to give the Suicide Squad a 5. Now, even though I
Okay.
didn't like the movie, I did think that there was some really cool creativity when it came to just using like on the tech side, the CGI. I
Mm-hmm.
also like how it was shot. It was done pretty well. You can't front on some of just the star-studded sort of cast they had too.
The cast was awesome.
The cast was awesome. It's one thing to, say, hey, I'm going to, bring in a really huge actor, pay him a
Mm-hmm.
bag, and then create a terrible movie, because then that takes away sort of credit from like, the really huge actor, i.e. Cosmic Sin. But then
Mm-hmm.
to take this movie here, and again, it's really kitschy. It's a boys' teenage movie. Um,
It
and,
was basically Guardians of the Galaxy for DC.
right.
That's what they did
And
with the
and
music and the action.
mhm.
It is the same movie.
And see, I think that it was on the same level as Army of the Dead, minus the zombies, sort of that type of movie. And
Mm-hmm.
Army of the Dead sort of had those same elements. It was shot great, excellent CGI, excellent graphics, color grade was awesome. They had fairly good actors. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I gave it a 5, and again, what kept me watching it was the fact that it looked good. The movie looked good. The thing that really just like threw me off as a person who's coming into this whole comic thing was the starfish, right? It's just
It
like,
could have been a better villain.
you mean to tell me like they're going to take this starfish and possibly try to create a military weapon from a starfish?
Is
That's what the federal government was
Dope.
trying to do.
I think
I
that
can't wrap my head
this
around
movie
that.
was
Mhm.
the dick jokes and the actors, and then they wrote the script around that. That's what
Yeah,
I think happened.
yeah.
That's the feeling I got.
It wasn't like I said, I gave it a 5. So it wasn't like, I mean, I gave Cosmic Sin, like a negative, like 100, right? So it wasn't like
It
a
was really bad.
terrible movie. It was a completely goofy, dumb movie.
See, the thing is though, the execution was strong, the script was not.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that I I don't mind James Gunn as a director,
Mm-hmm.
but I think this type of movie kind of exposes like his humor because he did this 3 movies in a row now. This
Wow,
type of
really?
humor,
Okay.
yeah. Is that if you watch the Guardians of the Galaxy and you look at this movie, you're like, oh, okay, it's the same
Mm,
director. Okay, I got you. Because
okay.
it's similar type of jokes.
Okay. Well, there you have it, folks. Another episode of the Behind the Groove podcast. I am Basil Barrington.
I'm DJ Keo.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And until next time, peace.
All right.